did you talk about?
I hate microphones. It's a true story. Well, Nat probably knows me better than most people, so they don't believe a word that she says. She's a little dynamo, and I think we came into each other's lives at just the right time. And I'm a firm believer that everything in life happens for a reason. And I talk about that in my book. We'll get to that. And everything about this journey of writing my book has just been part of that flow. And I hope that each of you, you're going to get a copy when you leave today. Louder. I hope that each of you will gain something from it, and that me spilling my guts on paper will help others to find themselves and move from trauma to triumph, because all of us as South Africans, whether we're male or female, large or small, are suffering trauma on a daily basis and we don't even know it. So, yeah. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to see you all.
Welcome, Karen. So let's start with, our first question, which is that many people see you today, as an attorney, like I said, a mediator, a TEDx speaker, and now author. But every book begins with a story. What was the moment where you realized that you needed to write Trauma to Triumph?
So, I've had this book in my head for years, and I think I spoke to Naz about it even when she first joined me, so it's a few years ago. And people have been telling me I needed to write a book. And then on the beginning of January 2023, I experienced what is undoubtedly the most traumatic event of my life. So in January of 2023, my son, Clinton, who you would have seen, I was speaking about him on my TED Talk, so please go and watch that, he became a whistleblower. Sorry, it's still triggers me. And he's been in witness protection since the 12th of February 2023 because his life was in danger. And that event flung me into the most extreme trauma I've ever had in my life, where I literally couldn't function. I've been working as a family law attorney now for the past 14 years, and I understood trauma. But in that moment, in those moments, I realized just how traumatized my clients are when they come to me. And I requested an attorney to act for them. And the attorney would phone me, and he knows I'm an attorney, so he would talk to me as lawyer. And I was asking, you're not talking to lawyer brain, you're talking to mommy brain. And mommy brain is mush. So I now know that when my clients come to me, they're talking in trauma brain, and the trauma brain just turns you to mush. You go into survival mode. And it was that moment that it's such a powerful. How many people do you know have got a child in visitation? You all know one. I don't really know this. And it's a space that's deeply traumatic, not just for the family who's left behind, but for the whistleblower itself. And that was the final moment.
Thank you, Karen, for sharing that. That was really emotional, and I can also tell that the book is so deeply personal in certain parts. But we're just going to ask you to change the slide if you can. And while we do that, we're going to ask you the next question if you're ready. What made you decide to share your journey so openly?
So, now with my clients, when they come to me, I ask them they have to be deeply honest with me. They have to tell me absolutely everything. And when I started putting this down on paper, I wrote the first chapter and I sent it to a friend who's written a few books. there's so much notion there, there's so much that happened, and he's like, no, you have to dig deeper. You have to go right down into the very depths and put that out honestly. And if I'm asking readers, because in my book you'll see, I'm asking you to be honest with yourself. Because to deal with the trauma, you have to be honest with yourself. And if I can't be honest with the reader, I can't ask them to be honest with themselves when they read my book and go through this journey with me. So, now that's the reason.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Moving on to our next question. Your son's courage as a whistleblower and your family's experience through that process had a profound impact on you, as we just saw. How did that experience shape your understanding of trauma, truth, and resilience?
So trauma is something that we think trauma is hearing gunshots and everybody runs and hides, and the events. We think of the events, the external events being trauma, but that's not what trauma is. Trauma is something that happens inside ourselves, right? We experience an event. That event may be traumatic to me, but to others in this room, it would be like, that happens every day. You know, I hear a car backfire and I'm like, I'm out of here. But other people, basically living in war zones, that's nothing to them, right? So it made me realize just how deeply our trauma sits inside of us. And there were moments when I got to a point after about 4 months, when my mom said to me, you need to stop. Because I wasn't functioning. I was doing what I needed to do and I wasn't functioning. And I went and sat on my veranda, and I live in the Western Cape, and I have the most magnificent view, I have to say. And I sat on my veranda for 2 days. And I cried. And I drank coffee. And in those days I was still smoking, and I smoked a lot. And I realized that it's okay not to be okay. And just for today, I'm going to not be okay. Because I had to be the pillar of strength. I had to be the one that wasn't crying. I had to be the one that was answering questions. When did he receive it? What's going to happen? What's happening in his life? Because his life is gone. The life that he knew is gone. And I've always been, for me, one of my founding values is honesty. And I learned that from my son, how important truth is. My son learned from me the value of truth and honesty. And that gave me so much hope that, we can go through traumatic experiences, but we can be true to ourselves. And that's the most important thing in life, to be true to ourselves. And there is no one more resilient than someone who comes through that, still standing.
Thank you for that. And I think if I had to comment on everything that you said, you and I met during COVID, which was a really traumatic experience. I think our whole friendship spotted in trauma. But one of the things you've always mentioned to me is that it's okay not to be okay. And that's something that I take through with me today, especially since whenever I have trauma, I'm always so dramatic. What your book explains is that trauma often shows up in sideways. And that's so true. Can you explain what trauma can look like in everyday life?
She is dramatic, just saying. So, that is so true. I mean, the trauma that I faced with my son, that is extreme. But it isn't always like that. It's not always extreme gender-based violence where someone comes to you black and bleeding. It's not always a family member being killed by stray bullets or a family member having drug addiction. It's not always in your face. So it's a normal day. You get up in the morning and your partner gives you some smart comment about the way you dress. I don't. You really pushing through. But you hold it. But you can't do anything, but you're always walking on eggshells in that environment. So if you go to work, and something happens at work, and I can't respond to that person because I'm literally going to my head. So you hold it. You hold it. And eventually you get back home, which is usually our safe space, and somebody says something, and it triggers it. So it happens in little things that add up and add up and add up. But it's like a pressure cooker. You know, take the pot of the pressure cooker whilst it's still going, eventually it's going to explode. And us girls, we usually have a go-to person. Where we can spend hours on the phone, or if you're a drinker, and a glass of wine, and talk up. And talk about stuff that's going on in our lives. Our sons, our husbands, our fathers, they don't do it. So it's little things that add up over time, not always big dramatic events. Like, she's a dramatic event on her own. But I think you get it. You get that.
Thank you so much for that wonderful compliment. Move to slide 2. You've spent more than a decade, that's a really long time, working with families in conflict. What patterns do you see repeatedly when people are caught in unresolved trauma?
Okay, so everyone should have been given a wee slinky. Has everyone got one? Take out your slinky. I don't know how I'm going to do this with a mic.
Put the mark down.
Okay. So, that's weird. Trauma is something that happens inside of us, right? And the very back base of our brain here is where our amygdala is. Now, our amygdala is the first part of our brain that lives when we're just wee dot, this part. And it's our survival instinct. And it looks after our nervous system. So I want you to imagine this is your nervous system, right? You'll think we all had these when we were kids, right? Mine was metal. I loved it. We had it for years. You know, these little plastic things are just, you know, they'll do. So normally our nervous system sits here. It's all at rest. It's happy. We're on the beach. We're sipping pina coladas. All is good in our lives. Then we come back from Mauritius. And we're back in traffic, and somebody cuts in front of us. And our nervous system goes, oh my God, I've got a brake. And we swerve, right? And our nervous system does this. And what happens? Because it's a neurological thing, we all have different ways that our trauma shows up inside of us. For me, it feels like there's a million ants running around my heart. I can feel it. If it's really bad, I can actually my pins and needles in my fingers because it's affecting my nervous system, right? So you might sweat when you're nervous. If you're on a stage, you don't like being in front of people, you might sweat. Anyway, we all have different reactions. So your nervous system does this. And slowly but surely your nervous system starts to, as you recover now, the traffic moves on and things are calming down, a little bit your nervous system starts to go down. And usually it relaxes again. And you stop sweating, you can breathe normally again, everything's okay. Then you're sitting at the office and suddenly there's gunfire outside. It sounds like gunfire. And your nervous system goes like this again, right? Now, you've just recovered from something traumatic, and so your slinky takes a little bit longer to come in. Maybe now it doesn't take 10 minutes, it takes half an hour. You have to go and have a glass of water, you have to go outside for a smoke, whatever it is that you need to do to relax your nervous system, right? So you'll see from the side, your body's memory is very linear, it's like this. Your mind is going all over the place, right? So there's 4 survival modes, right? Well, sometimes it's 5. Okay. Literally sleep. So you all know it. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So fawn is where we try and placate people. I did this with an ex-partner who was abusive. He never hit me, just get FYI. He would say things and I would go, no, I know it was my fault. I'll fix it. It was my fault. Okay, that's fawn. Then there's flight. That's easy one. See a lion run. Then you've got those brave individuals who will stand and fight. I was in a car one day with a lady, Sandra. We worked together and we were at a robot that was a high smash and grab zone. Little did I know, my handbag was literally on the dashboard. It was a long time ago, right? So before we became super vigilant. Somebody smashes the passenger window and grabs Sandra's phone or her lap. Me, I freeze. I'm a possum, right? I think. I was sitting in the car. The car's on. I'm trying to start the car because my brain just on. Sandra, out the car and she's chasing us down. What just happened? I'm still trying to get my body to move. Sandra's gone. She gets back in the car. I'm like, did you get him? She didn't, but those are the. And so when we're in a traumatic situation, you just go into automatic. We call it our lizard brain, right? Our lizard brain takes over. So families who come to me, they come to me in their worst possible time, when they're going through something that is deeply traumatic. They're losing a loved one, even if they really want to get divorced or they're over it, it's still traumatic. So, yeah, and it's those same patterns happen over and over again because we always go back to our lizard brain reaction.
You've seen how trauma affects communication. Why do people often struggle to communicate when they're hurt or triggered?
So same thing. Because we go into our natural protective zone, right? And if we don't understand our own triggers and our own trauma response, every time we're in a conflict, we're not speaking from our rational brain anymore. There's our brain. Our brain's going all over the place. So, in order to communicate normally with people, to not be triggered by something they say, like somebody might in a simple conversation say something to you and you go, that was a little bitchy. But it probably wasn't. But because we don't understand how other people communicate, we take it as something against us. And if we understand that those triggers are ours, not theirs, and they're dealing with their own trauma and their own triggers, and something we say might trigger them, you know, even our body language. I'm an eyes person. I'm also very handsy, right? You see, I like to move my hands, so I hate microphones. But I look people in the eye. It's not a natural cultural thing in all cultures, right? Some people are extremely upset by people looking them in the eye. So we need to understand that when we are communicating with other people, and we're always going to go back to our instinctive, how do I protect myself in this situation?
Most definitely. And moving on to the next question, and I think one of my favorite parts, and possibly one of the most powerful ideas in your book, is that unresolved trauma doesn't just affect individuals. You know, it affects families, it affects the workplace, it affects leadership. Can you talk about that connection?
So when you get a copy of my book, and you'll see from my slides, I have a thing about cogs. That wasn't random. There's cogs inside, there's cogs with trauma on the cover. And the reason I did that was because we don't live in a bubble. As much as some of us introverts would love to live in a bubble, we live in an interconnected world. We're all connected. When my cock turns, it turns with your cock. And so friends are connected and our cocks turn together. We have family systems. Our family systems are connected to work systems. Within a work environment, there's a whole lot of cogs all working together. When one of those cogs fails, when one of those cogs starts turning the other way, it affects the whole system. It doesn't just affect you. So you have a traumatic event that happens in your life. It's like dropping a pebble in a beautifully glass, flat, clear water. It will just spread in ripples out. It will affect your children, your parents, your friends, because you're going to talk to them about it. It's going to go with you to work. You're going to carry it in your handbag. When you say you carry baggage, that is exactly what it is. You're carrying it with you. And it doesn't matter. This journey is not over for me. This is a journey that will go on for the rest of my life. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I've had all those traumas because they've made me who I am. So, how we lead other people is deeply affected by how we lead ourselves. And if we let our cog interfere with other people's cogs, then we're affecting the whole system. And if we know that and we understand that, we can better deal with our trauma and other people's trauma.
Wonderful. Can you please change the slide? So another thing I love about your book is that it doesn't just tell a story. It gives people tools. What are some of the practical techniques that the readers will learn?
Okay, so the book is broken down into 3 parts. The first part talks about trauma and what trauma is, what your triggers are, and all that kind of thing. So you'll read about that and you'll learn about that and you'll start to think about how those things affect you. And then the tools are how to first calm yourself. Because when your amygdala kicks in, all these physiological things start to happen in your body. So we'll do one quickly. It's called a 4-7-8 exercise, okay? It's on page 59. So all of you, put both your feet on the floor. We're not going to meditate, don't worry. We're just going to breathe. Put one hand on your belly. You're going to breathe into your belly. You're going to breathe in for a count of 4, and you can do your own 4. It doesn't have to be my 4, because some people breathe slower and others breathe faster. It's your pace. You're going to breathe in for 4, you're going to hold it for 7, and then you're going to breathe out for 8. You're going to breathe in here, not here. This is shadow breathing. You're going to breathe into your belly. I want you to feel your hand rise. Are you ready? Breathe in for 4, deep breath. 2, 4, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can do that as many times as you like. You can do it. You have an argument with someone at work. You're feeling a little bit. Go to the bathroom. Sit on the loo. It doesn't matter. Breathe. That's the first thing. Calms your nerves, right? Just gets you back to you. It senses you get your sense go right here. The next is what you see here. The language that we speak about ourselves is enormous, right? Everything we say and everything we think is our reality. I strongly believe in that. I thought about writing a book. I made that a reality because I thought about it and I spoke about it. And then it all just happened. Thanks, FNB. It's been amazing. But we say the most critical things about ourselves. We are our biggest critics. Ooh, getting a bit chubby. I ate too much last night. These jeans are way too tight. Oh, why did I do that? I'm so dumb. I'm an absolute idiot. But you know what? It's okay not to be okay. You are not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You are perfectly you, and if you're broken, that's fine. I've got one of the things I say in my book. I am still becoming. I haven't become. I've become a few things. I became a fashion designer. I became a mom. I became a wife. I unbecame a wife. Plus, I became a victim of gender-based violence. I became a survivor. I'm still becoming.
Thank you, and thank you for that last part about not judging yourself, because while you were asking us to do the breathing exercises, I realized how unfit I was. So we had to all do like mindfulness, breathwork, reframing, reframing your thoughts and setting boundaries. Why are these tools so powerful for healing and personal transformation?
So I think we've dealt with a lot of them. And this is what's so important here. Notice what you're feeling. I know exactly when I'm feeling traumatized. Because I can feel it in my body, because I know what it is. It starts with a flutter in my heart. I can't explain it to you. It literally feels like there's a million ants running around. And I know I've got to name it. Something's coming. I don't know why. I'm feeling anxious. Sometimes I feel anxious for random reasons. Do you ever feel that? You just feel like something's not right in the universe. You don't know what it is. And you hope it's nothing serious. Nobody's going to phone you and say, Grandma died. But you just feel it, right? Name it. You don't have to necessarily know why it's happening, but name it. It's a feeling. I feel angry, right? I feel sad. After that, sitting on the veranda for 2 days, I went to see a counselor the second time in my life. And on the second session, she said to me, Karen, what emotion are you feeling? And it took me a while. And I said, I said to you, Christelle, I'm angry. I've never been so angry. I want to kill people. I'm so angry. I'm angry at these people that forced my son into this situation. He chose to be a whistleblower, yes. But if they hadn't been doing what they were doing, he wouldn't be in this position. I'm angry with them. Because they've taken away his life. He's lost his home. He's lost his job. He's lost his career. He's lost his wife. He lost his pets. Thankfully, he didn't have children yet. I've lost my son. I'm angry. They took that from me. I've lost being a grandma. I told my sons, you do not make me a grandma before I'm 50. I'm nearly 60 now, I'm still not a grandma, right? I was angry. And then Christelle said to me, Karen, do you realize that your anger is coming from a deep, deep love? Name the feeling. The feeling was anger, but it was coming from love. start again, because it's like, okay. And then knowing those things, when you're in a situation and you need to respond, instead of reacting, you can respond. You don't have to do it now. You can go to the bathroom and you can breathe. And I want to kill him. I want to kill him. I'm not going to kill anybody today. And then you can go back out and you can respond rather than react.
When they're reading it, whenever they're reading it, if you could start with one small step forward, what would you suggest?
Okay, so you'll see this image in the book. And I don't know if anybody has read Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That book I read it 4 times. I never got past the second habit until the 4th time, right? And he uses a similar exercise to this, but I added in this circle of control, that's me. I can't control you. I can't control you. I can't control the weather. I can't control what happened to my son. I can't control any of that. I can control me. I can control whether I react or I respond, and if so, how. Right? And one of the exercises that I learned, and you're going to laugh, and in the beginning it was close to impossible, because when I started doing this work on myself, I did not like me. I didn't like me. When I looked in the mirror, what I saw, and who I met, not lekker, right? So I used to wake up in the morning, look myself in the mirror, put a smile on my face, it wasn't a real one, I promise you, and go, good morning, beautiful. Every morning. Fake it till you make it, right? Good morning, beautiful. Get up, dress up, show up, good morning, beautiful. Every morning. So eventually it became a little bit easier, and then I started looking at myself and going, hey, shucks, I actually got the most amazing blue eyes. Didn't see those before. When I smile, I've got the most amazing smile lines. Luckily, I don't have too many wrinkles. My dad gave me that. But when I smile, my eyes go, and my children have that. I see it in my children now. When they smile, when they laugh, they've got these most expressive eyes. You start to see that in yourself. Good morning, beautiful. And then that ripple effect. I would go to the shop, and now I'm walking taller. I don't know why. I'm only 5'4". I feel like I'm 5'8" now. And I feel better. And when there's music playing in the store, I'm starting to dance, and people look at me a bit odd. But then people started going, hey, that's a beautiful dress you're wearing. And I'd be like, thank you. And like, you're so happy. I'm like, actually, I am. And then I go to the teller and I go, hey, how are you today? I genuinely mean it. Because I felt like I needed to know how they were feeling. And that connection, people in my local spa were like, hey, Karen! Everybody knew me. Nobody knew me before. I was invisible. I made myself invisible. So that's a right small step. Start tomorrow. In fact, you go to the bathroom. Start today.
Yourself during this writing process.
Sure. A lot. So I told you about the friend that read the first chapter. And I was like, there's more. So when I was chatting to Jen the other day on the podcast, I said to her, I had to really dig deep and reflect on my life. So I did this exercise. And you can do it for yourself, and you'll be amazed at what comes out. Because every time we experience something traumatic, what we do is we pack it up in a box. We don't want to, nobody can, the world doesn't need to know all that stuff. We put it in a box, we get the duct tape out, we seal the box up, We go upstairs, we put it in the attic. And the next time something happens, we do the same thing, we go upstairs, we put it in the attic. We don't think about it. This experience, writing the book, I had to do this. So I drew a line, and on the one side, I put the good things that have happened in my life, and on the other side, this doesn't show all those things, this shows all the bad things. On the other side, I put the good things that happened in my life, and you can always see a flow of good stuff, not such great stuff, good stuff, not such great stuff. And generally, I think I had a really great life until I did this. And then I was like, holy guacamole, some stuff has happened in my life. There were boxes I'd forgotten about. One of them in particular, so I was abused as a child, right? Sexually abused. We had neighbours that lived next door. There were four boys, 4 or 5, could be 5. I think there were 5. They had 3 children of their own, and they fostered 3 foster children. They were all boys, and they were teenage boys. I was little, from the age of 4 to 9. And I was sexually abused by these teenage boys. But I put it in a box, and as children we're very good at doing that, right? We disassociate, we pack it away, we don't see it. I was in my late 20s, and I was at a night market with my mom and my children, one on each hand. So it was dark, we were on our way to leave, we were walking along, I can see it like it was yesterday. Walking along the pathway, this man, tall man, stopped in front of us, slim. And my mom immediately recognized him and called him by his name. Said, hello, I can't even remember his name, because I just remember the images. And it took a while for me to realize who this person was. He was one of the boys from the farm. And that was one of my hyperventilating panic moments. But here I am with my mom. My mom didn't know, right? I'd never spoken to her about it, ever. And I looked him in the eye, because I wanted him to know I knew. And he wouldn't look at me. He looked down. But doing this exercise, unpacked that box. I had completely forgotten about that, because I put that box up in the attic. And I hope that when you read this book, you can be as honest with yourself and you can go and get those boxes out of the attic. Because it's the most cathartic thing I've ever done. Even though I've done it before, I had to do it again. And really dig deep this time.
Was there any chapter that was particularly difficult for you to write?
Sorry.
It's okay.
The prologue was the hardest for me to write, because it's about my son. Because I felt that needed to be in the beginning of the book, because that was the trigger for me to write the book. And every time I read it, I still cry. I still cry, because it was such intense panic as a mom to go through a child being arrested at the airport whilst he's fleeing the country to get away because his life's been threatened. So writing the prologue was definitely the hardest, and every time I read it, I still cried.
Feel when they finish trauma to trial.
Hope. I want you to know that there's hope. I've had some dark moments before I started my own journey to healing. There was a moment when I was sitting in my car at the top of the Kloof Gorge. I'm originally from KZN. Thinking to myself, what if I just drove my car over the gorge? Would anybody even care? My my children kept me alive, because I couldn't do that to my children. But there were those dark moments. So I want you to know there's hope through it all. It doesn't matter what you're going through. And I don't want you to ever finish the book. Finish the book, but start again. Share it with other people. Because that ripple, when you heal, you help other people to heal. So I want you to feel empowered to help other people. Because if my story helps just one person to get through something that they're going through, your story can help one person. And their story can help one person. And that's how we heal. Not just as individuals, but as communities.
Fabulous. And if the book could change one thing about how people live, love, or lead, what would that be?
I'd like people to live, love, and lead with honesty and with empathy. Not just for other people, for yourself. We can sit and listen to other people talk about all their things and we can really empathize with them. You know? God, I've been through that. But when do we sit and listen to ourselves and go, frickin' dull, I've been through some stuff. But you know it's okay not to be okay. And today I'm not okay, but tomorrow maybe I'll be better. And the day after that it'll be better. And I'm still beautiful every morning when I wake up.
We spoke about a lot of things, and we've been through this journey. Everybody's heard exactly how your mind works. They don't know really how your mind works. I was going to say. But if there's one message that you'd like everyone here to take with them today, what would that be?
Says a chap. Make today a yesterday to remember tomorrow. So today is going to be an amazing yesterday tomorrow. Because when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to go, wow, that was amazing. I launched my first book. So make sure that today, even if it's one small thing, makes it a good yesterday when you get to tomorrow.
Really, really very interesting and so fabulously fantastic. And I would also like to, before we open up for questions, thank FNB, the FNB team. I think Karen, if you'd like to say a few words, because I think today was put together so perfectly. And the only people that are responsible for it are those ladies there at the back, the FNB team.
Stand up, ladies. You as well, Joe and Anita. Up you guys. You know, I said to you, I believe everything happens for a reason, right? And nothing is random. There's a lady in the front here by the name of Celeste, who I met many, many years ago, who phoned me and said, Karen, can you help this lady? She was in a terribly abusive relationship. And I was like, sure thing, I'm on board. And I did. And we did great things for that girl, right? It's one of the most incredibly powerful things that I've had. It was a real achievement that, against all the odds. And then I'd written my book. It was in draft format, and it was time to now. I needed to get this book out there. But getting a book published, people say, oh, just self-publish. Listen, I'm a lawyer, I'm a fashion designer, I'm many things, I'm not a publisher. And I went onto these websites that tell you how to publish your own book, and I was like, yeah, no, not my rep at all. And then, out of the blue, some lady phoned me and said, Karen, I'm not FNB. I'd like to talk to you about gender-based violence.
That's not how she sounded.
And I was like, oh, okay. And a meeting was set up between me and Jonita. And it was like I met another sister. Because we're so alike. And I happened to mention that I've written a book. Nothing else was said. And then one night, her and I were on the phone again, and I was saying, no, I'm reading, and I'm just trying to find a publisher, and blah, blah, blah. And she said, Karen, I'll publish your book. Nothing is random. Celeste came into my life. I don't know where she found me, but she did. And she passed it forward, I passed it forward, FNB passed it forward. So, FNB, all the ladies at FNB who are absolutely amazing, thank you.
Karen is going to be available for signing the book, so please do take a book before you leave. But before we do that, do we have any questions from the audience? Anything that you'd like to ask?
Because it was normalized. When I was 51 or 52, my brother phoned me out of the blue, and we were not close. And said he wanted to talk, he wanted coffee. It's weird, anyway. So he came and had coffee. And my brother talks a lot. Started telling me about the hypnosis work that he's doing with women and the stuff that's coming out during this hypnosis. And they're telling him all the stuff about the abuse that they've been through as children. And I said to him, do you remember what happened at the farm? Now my brother's not an emotional person. And he just, his jaw clenched visibly. I watched him. And he went right red. It started at the top and it just went right down. And out of nowhere, the tears just started to pour down his face. And out of clenched teeth, he said, like it was yesterday. Why don't we talk about it? It's normalized. He said to me, I'll never forget what that boy said to me. So I asked him, what did he say? He said, no, I'm not telling you. I said, tell me, you can't hurt me anymore. It's done. Tell me what he said. And that boy said to my brother, who was only about 6, he was only 15 months older than me, right? So he was also a baby. He said, I'm just getting to know your sister better. It was normalized. And then when I got older and started to, because I had the most terrible flashbacks and nightmares, okay, that I didn't understand. And I wanted to say to my mom, did you know? Did you know and let it happen? Or didn't you know? But I couldn't, because I didn't want to know the answer to that question. If it was yes, I knew. Okay? It turns out she didn't know. Because I did ask her, because when I was, just after I turned 50, it was the first time I came out and spoke about it. I was interviewed on the radio and I spoke about it. And so before the interview went live, I had to have a sit-down conversation with my mom and my children to say, I'm going to speak about it, and you need to know, because they didn't know, because I hadn't told anyone. Because that's what we do. That's what survivors, victims do. We stay silent. And why do we stay silent? Because the consequences of speaking out are more terrifying than staying silent. Something I've learned in the whistleblower space now with my son. Look at what's happened because my son spoke up. Right? If he just stayed silent, I mean, Grandma, if he just stayed silent, he's an attorney. He was a very successful young man, right? On his way to the top because he's bright. If he just stayed silent. So that's why I was blessed with 2 boys. And I've always said, as a mom of boys, I'm so grateful because I only have to worry about one piece. As a mom of girls, you've got a whole lot of things to worry about. So, hats off to all the moms of girls.
So when you're like 5, 6 years old, you don't really understand what's happening to you, and it usually starts off when they say it's a game. Let's play the secret game. And when you're like 5 or 6 years old, you want to get in on that secret, you know. Then as you grow older, like Karen said, you begin to learn that this is wrong, this is good touch, this is bad touch. Then you're like, did I imagine all of that? If I tell people now, are they going to believe me? You know, are they going to tell me that I've made it up for attention? Or if you belong to an Indian community or a conservative community, am I going to have the stigma that people are going to say, oh, this is an abused girl, you know, every problem now gets attached to you. So that's also one of the reasons why people don't speak out.
It is, and this isn't to sound sexist, because I assure you I'm not, but the unfortunate thing in South Africa, and in most countries actually, culturally we're still very male dominated, right? And generally, moms become housekeepers and you know, they're the primary parent, so they're the ones that are doing the fetching and taking the rings and all of that stuff. And there's a little bit of help, but the dad is out working, you know, he leaves early, he comes home late. In today's day and age, that's often the case. And we land up going through divorce. You know, if I look back, my divorces were inevitable. They were inevitable because I was broken. Right? The hardest part, when I left, I had a job. I was very lucky I had my mom and dad. I went home. I went home. Many people don't have that, especially in our country, right? Where we've got such extreme poverty. So many women stay, and I say women because it is mostly women, unfortunately, stay in abusive relationships because they simply don't have the money. They don't have a job, they can't, they feel trapped, right? So, in hindsight, you've got to empower yourself. As women, we have to empower ourselves. As men, we have to empower ourselves. If you're going to be a stay-at-home dad, make sure you've got money in the bank. Make sure that if you need to leave, you can leave. The hardest part is getting up, dressing up, and showing up for your kids. Because you have to be the strong one. Because their little world is also falling apart. And you have to make it as normal as possible for them. But it's okay not to be okay. Just for today. And it's okay to cry. And it's okay to be angry. And you're not a failure. Stuff happens. You don't have to feel guilty about it. It happened. It's done. Put it in a box for now. Put it up there if you have to. And then come on, journey with me. And you're going to be okay. Maybe tomorrow. So I've been a victim of workplace bullying too. It's the thing about workplace bullying is it's so, it's like bullying at school. What is it? It's very similar to gender-based violence, or it's called a gender-based abuse, right? I don't really like the word violence because it's not always about violence. Workplace bullying can be violent. It can be pushing and shoving, right? It happens. But it's things like, there's a big meeting happening, and you're not invited to that meeting. Right? People are standing around the water cooler or the coffee machine, and you walk past and everyone goes quiet. Why? Right? Those things. Your boss decides they don't like you, so they start to pick on every little thing that you do. They undermine you, they gaslight you. What? Not gaslighting is. They tell you, do that, you do that. And then they go, but I didn't tell you to do that. I told you to do that. And you're like, am I going mad? It happens in domestic relationships. It happens in the workplace as well. Right? And it can be very insidious. And the worst part about workplace bullying is that, you know, we spend more of our lives at work than we do at home. Waking hours. Okay? And yet we don't get to choose who we work with. So that's why this work is so important, because every single person that you're working with is dealing with trauma. So if you can understand your own trauma triggers and that person's trauma triggers and how you communicate and they communicate, it makes it a lot easier to understand that, right? One of the things we do with dignified dispute resolution is around workplace bullying, because it's such a big thing. You don't actually realize until you go into that space. So in the whistleblower space, workplace bullying is a massive, massive thing. Because when somebody speaks out about wrongdoing in the workplace, they get bullied. Because the system needs to shut that person down, right? So, I have an example of a lady who worked for one of the smart, they've got offices here in South Africa, but it's an international organisation that has a washing machine that explodes on a certain cycle, right? It's banned in Australia, it's banned in America, can't sell it there, but they're selling it here, and she blew the whistle. But she blew the whistle anonymously, but they found her. They hunted her down and they found her. And then she was having work reviews. She was having, all these you're not functioning properly, there's a little bit of, you're not getting on well with this person, we need to go and send you for this training. And they just started traumatizing her, she broke. So it's a very real thing. One of the hardest things to have to deal with in a workplace.
Karen is one of the most amazing people I know. And have you ever heard the term all in? Okay, so Karen, when I get her on a case and she's all in, then we win. No matter how long it takes, no matter what we have to do. And the case that she was describing is one of those ones we just look at each other and go, do you remember? And we remember because it was hard. But what I wanted to say today is this book of Karen's is amazing and you've done great work. And bringing hope to people is what we want to do. And that's one part of your journey. But because I'm with Tears Foundation and because we also have a relationship with FNB Cares, I want to tell you, you don't have to walk alone. Never. You never have to walk alone. So I'm going to give you a number. 08,000. Everybody's taking out their phones. You give them a second. 08,000 83277. It's free. It's 24/7. It's 365. And my team will answer the phone. And when I answer the phone, if you feel like they're not giving you enough help, then I'm going to smack their buns, but you can ask for me. And if you don't want to go through that way, you can go to Debbie or to Nita or any of the people here at FNB Cares and you can ask them for my personal number, but you never ever have to walk alone. Our services are free of charge. So please, feel free to use it because walking your own journey to healing is absolutely essential. But also accessing services and information that you don't have when you go into a thing is also essential. So even if you're phoning to ask us, hey, my lawyer said this, is it right? Or, hey, I went to go for a protection order and they wouldn't give me one. Is it right? Having someone to talk to about those things is important. I think I might be in a situation, but I don't know. Phone and ask. You never ever have to walk alone. And Karen, great job.
Thank you very much, and to organisations like TIS. But we're a country where women have been living in trauma for generations. And we carry it from generation to generation. And the effect of that, it becomes, I'm also Jewish, and I have genetic DNA trauma. It becomes part of who we are. And I think it's really important for us to unpack our own little package, because otherwise we can't really deal with our child's trauma, our mother's trauma. We must start with our own trauma. And the trauma that's going on in this country is out of control. The GBV, the teen pregnancies, the babies that are left, all of these things are so traumatic. And we see it in the newspaper, we hear it on social media, we read it, we're on the news, this, that, and the next thing. But we have to start with ourselves. And so that's where a book like yours is really helpful. And in that way, you can pass it on, what you've learned and what you've experienced. So thank you.
I would say, yes, women around the world experience a great deal of trauma, and it is generational trauma. But let's not forget we are 50% of the population are women. Men also suffer trauma, right? Men have to get up, dress up and show up. Even though they were abandoned as a child, even though they were bullied at school. My boy used to do witness protection, he's a redhead. I didn't know he was bullied at school. Until he came home one day and he said, Mom, I made them stop me. Because another boy was being bullied. He was in grade 11 and he started to grow. He was always one of the shortest in class. There were twin girls who were the tallest, always right in front of school. And him and his little mate Cameron were the shortest in class, always. Grade 11, he started. And he went to kickboxing. And he started to. And he said, Mom, there was a little redhead boy, grade 8, new to the school, just started. And at grade 12 was bullying him. And I put him up against the wall. And I said to him, that's the last time. Men are going through trauma too. And in our country, we have to remember that there's also a generational trauma of apartheid. Let's not forget that, because it's still very real. And it's going to be with us for a long time. And men and families were particularly hurt by that. We need to be aware of that. So, yes, us girls, we've had it hard, but so have the men.
Talking about your son and him being a whistleblower and speaking out, I wanted to know, morally and ethically, he did the right thing. Professionally, it's a lot easier to be proud of him for what he did. But as a parent, yourself resenting him, because we did say essentially the consequences have been catastrophic, or are you still able to reconcile everything and be proud? Because I would imagine that it is fair to say a part of you might hold some resentment because of what it's caused him and the family.
The answer to that is no. I do not resent at all, because I am so incredibly proud of his courage. He was presented with a whistleblower award in 2024. I flew up to Johannesburg to accept it on his behalf, because obviously he's in witness protection, he's not allowed. And I cried a whole lot, and everybody else cried a whole lot. And I met reporters who have been reporting on the story, because there's been 184, I lost count of 184 different articles and stuff across the media about my son's case. And when I met these reporters, they were like, do you know that your son has come up against probably one of the most dangerous men in the country? And I was like, thanks for that. I didn't know that. Now watching the Tiger Commission, I know that. Okay. And I get prouder and prouder by the day. It's hard. It's hard. I only have one son I can hug every day and say good morning to, because my other boy, he's 35, he listens to mommy. And I'm going to hang on to him for as long as I can. But no, I can never, ever resent him for what he did, because he stuck with his compass. His compass said true north is that way. I'm going true north. He never wavered from that. And before he went into witness protection, I asked him, knowing what you know now, would you do it again? And he said, in a heartbeat. The person I ever told about my childhood experience was an intimate partner. And his response was, rubbish, man, you're making that up. You're just looking for attention. And I was like, so that's gaslighting, right? I wasn't making it up. I was having these flashbacks. They were real. And the next person I told was after that relationship ended. I was in another relationship with a man who was 14 years my senior. His name was James. James has passed on. And I told James. And James believed me. And he said, I can't help you with that, but I know someone who can. And he took me to a psychologist, the first one. And she believed me. And she said to me, Karen, a 4-year-old brain can't make that stuff up. It doesn't have the capacity to make that stuff up. It can't create memories like that. And she believed me. So if somebody comes to you and says to you, this happened to me, don't judge them. You don't have to say anything. You just have to say, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, I believe you. Even if they do nothing about it. I didn't do anything about it until I turned 50. When I met James, I was in my 30s. It took me nearly 20 years of more healing before I had the courage to go, I'm a survivor. Being believed is, without a doubt, the most important thing. Because your story is real. I want to hear your journey. I want to hear the good and bad and ugly. If it helps you, I'd love to know. If you thought it was rubbish, I'd love to know. I'm okay with that. So, if you are happy to do a video for me and say, hey Karen, I read your book, I loved chapter whatever it was, or you made me cry, or you broke my heart, or you are a really bad author, I'd be delighted with that. If you're happy to put it on socials, let me know. I'd love to be able to put it on socials to spread the word. If you want to remain anonymous, that's okay too. If you just want to send me a message that's only for my eyes, you can do that too. But I don't man the phone all the time. I'll get to answer as many as I can, but I'd really love to hear from you and hear about your journey and how going through this with me helps you.
I'd like to thank Karen for sharing her experience with us. Karen, you're an amazing woman. Well done with your journey. I think you had a lot of people shedding a tear here and there. I know I was one of them. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that took the time. I'm sure you are excited to get your copy of the book. Everybody will be getting a copy to go read. And please, I've also asked you to join the FNB Care community. We have a feedback section. If you want to put some information there, or how you enjoyed the book, or any review you'd like to do of it, please do. We'd like to see what you say about your book. So ladies, thank you again. You're welcome to proceed. Karen, would you like to sign some of the books? Karen will sign your book and you'll get your copy and go and enjoy it. It's a good book. Thank you everyone.